Hello. Good morning from Thailand. I am back today with another live with Jackie Lara, which I'm super excited about. Ascension codes and her book. And hi. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
How are you?
Oh, I'm really good. I just absolutely love being outside here on my patio. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Can you hear me okay too?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm good. I mean, it's a cool, drizzly day here on Vancouver Island, so I'm really envying your amazing weather.
Oh, that's funny actually. The last thing I remember when I was waking up, oh, from my dream was just a bunch of rain, and in my dream I was back in Vancouver and there was just like everybody had umbrellas, and so yes, I'm very happy in the sun.
Nice.
Um, so yeah, there were a few questions that came through, but I think overall, like the ascension codes, your book, but then also just like I think that as a theme kind of feels good. What do you think?
I think so. I think that's where we're at.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like I mean, I guess I think the biggest one is for for people that are kind of just experiencing this and not maybe necessarily like they feel like a shift in energies, but maybe they don't understand what's going on, because there's definitely been a heightened shift um, for me, and this is actually I have this written down some of the questions, but um, kind of since January, I feel there's like a really big, or at least yeah, for me and yeah, a few other people that mentioned it. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't know if you saw, but earlier this week, it was just a few days ago, I believe, that the sun had like four solar flares that erupted all at once. And NASA had a picture of it, of all these happening. And they were all in like different locations on the surface of the sun, which is also very interesting to me. Like what I have to ask, like what is going on there with the sun that causes it to have simultaneous eruptions? Not two at the same time, not three at the same time, but four all at the same time. And then I don't know like how those energies are impacting Earth. I don't know if we're in the path of any of those eruptions. But I believe that when the sun does release that kind of energy, no matter what direction it's heading in, I believe that the Earth does take it on because it's going out into our solar system at large. It's going out into the universe at large, and we're all part of that. So, it may not be a direct hit, but it's an indirect hit because it's still happening, in my opinion, anyways.
Yeah, and for me, I always kind of look back, like the Schumann resonance is something that people can kind of look at to kind of see, and there's lots of, I know for me, like I have almost like there's sometimes when that happens, if like sometimes I just can't sleep some nights, and then other times I get like a really tingly sensation, or um, for others they may feel more tired. Um, but yeah, like for that to happen, like four at once, it almost sounds like it almost just feels like, when the earth is just like there's earthquakes happening and there's like that energy shift, which there has been a lot of earthquakes.
Yeah.
It's just like everybody needs to kind of like rewire wire themselves. How are you feeling when that happens?
Um, Certainly, I've been feeling waves of fatigue. I've been more tired in the afternoons than normal lately. So I don't know if that's part of what's going on. My dreams, I'm noticing. Well, I've been doing a lot of cleansing too, so I think there's part of that is at play. Like I'm in the middle of a liver flush right now. We're flushing on Saturday, so we're in the middle of all that prep work, and that can bring out a lot of things. But even last week, I was noticing my dreams not having like the most fun dreams. I'd say like there's a lot of energies coming out and surfacing in the dreams, and I've also been noticing the areas in which my ego is out of check, it is out of place, which on one hand is obnoxious, but on the other hand, I'm happy for it because I'm being made aware it is definitely coming into my consciousness. So all these things I think are, in ways they're uncomfortable, but at the same time, there's benefit to them. And then I kind of feel like this is all in that good alignment with the ascension path and the energies that I believe our solar system is going through because it is heading into that photon belt. And it makes sense, I guess, in thinking about this, it would make sense that the sun is releasing more energy because we are entering into that space of the photon belt, and so the sun's going to be affected.
Yeah, and that's actually really interesting because I was talking to a friend a few days ago, and she was saying that she was having dreams about the sun, and almost like there were like she just saw it so vividly, just things coming out. I think she said something like chains or something, so maybe she could see the energy of that going through. And that was also a big one that came up for the eclipse, when that was happening as well. But yeah, I think I mean, I know for me when that happens, sometimes I'll start pulling in codes, light language. um Sometimes it'll just be like when I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to sleep, there's like a couple incidences, and then I'm like, nope, just gonna do some light language for a little bit here, and just almost like releasing like that huge amount that's coming through. um and yeah, just wanting to be in nature more. um I don't know if anybody's feeling that in if you're in a city, um just almost just feeling like you want to leave the city or just be outside in nature. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're very, very lucky because you're out in Vancouver Island, which I absolutely love. It's just like an oasis of paradise there for me, or it was for me. But
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying though as well. Like I've been making it a daily practice to go for a walk in the forest every single morning. And not only is that like just an exercise and getting myself up and out of the house because I work from home, so I spend a lot of time in my house. So it's good to like get outside and actually get some fresh air. But also, yeah, to connect with nature, to be with those trees, and it's become like a walking meditation, which I am absolutely loving. And yes, is there's a specialness to it because I get to walk forest trails, but honestly, I can see now where I was missing that when I was living in the city. That I was just in a little suburb. I could easily have done the same thing walking on the sidewalk and just being in a nice walking meditation. There's beauty absolutely everywhere. Even even in areas where you wouldn't necessarily call it beautiful, there's even beauty in that. So it's up if beauty's the eye of the beholder, so it's up to us to make that connection and make it work for us in a beneficial way and see it positively.
yeah, yeah, exactly. You can always take just a few minutes out of your day, even if you think you're working all day or you're stuck. Like even just if you can't even like just even looking outside is just so helpful. Um, yeah, and I think I just feel like there's it, I don't know, I just feel like yeah, that someone just wrote in the comments like DNA activation for sure. Yes, like we're upgrading and activating. Some people know what's going on, other people don't. And there seems to be definitely a big, almost a shift, or like not a shift, a divide. That was one of the questions that I had here. Um, yeah, ascension timeline. It feels like a big shift has occurred since January 2024. I no longer resonate with watching the news or listening to the radio. Feels like I'm observing things from afar. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That greater
Has that,
perspective, so good.
yeah. I know that's definitely like on my path. Like I used to definitely like at the beginning of COVID, I used to watch the news quite a bit, and you know, just even like the mainstream music as well. And I just, you know, as going down this path, I just have felt just absolutely no desire to watch the news or listening to that music that I used to listen to. And then also, yeah, again with the shift in the nature. So do you have any? I guess yeah, like it almost feels like a wall, like you're observing from afar,
Mm.
right? Is that how things have been going for you, or?
Yeah, I feel like a little bit like I'm in my own little bubble. Partly I think because I'm on the island here and I can sort of easily create that in my mind that I live in a place that's somewhat detached. But the reality is that no, the stuff that's happening in this country and other countries is definitely is impacting um, a lot of people, a lot of people. So I try not to listen too much to the news because it's, I notice it really doesn't serve me in any sort of positive way. I feel as though the things that I need to hear about, I will hear about. Someone is going to tell me about it, and I will be, you know, made aware of a situation. And that's for my own mental health and well being as much as anything else, just because there's so much dysfunction out there, whether it's made up or not, to be honest. And so yeah, I'm just a happier person not participating in that so much. And yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I feel the same. I felt, I definitely feel the same. And then, yeah, just for anybody, I don't know, like just an instant frequency shift is just, yeah, anything in nature, going outside. Even at the time, I find, you know, there's been some times where I'm like, oh, I don't want to go out or like I don't feel like it. But as soon as I'm out there, it's like, it's just a big shift. Um,
Yeah. And like there's, I forget what the frequency is. I was just going to try and look it up. The frequency that mainstream music is being made with is disharmonious to our being. And so I haven't been listening to mainstream music mostly for several years. And I try to listen to um, like someone like Wah or Snatankar or solfeggio tones, things like that. Like I have solfeggio playing right now just off YouTube because I noticed the energy today seemed a little bit funky and I was getting irritated and I you know what, I need to like play some music that is like, I don't know, going to create more of a coherent resonance because I'm struggling with this right now. And I noticed my friend was messaging me and saying the same thing and saying that a whole bunch of people were really off today. So I thought, okay, it's not just me. Maybe there's something going on. So I'll just back myself up here with some solfeggio to help me out. Yeah, 432 exactly. Like that's the heart frequency, but I don't know what they're using in mainstream music that is sort of it doesn't, it's not harmonious. And you can actually buy a speaker that will change that to a frequency that is harmonious with the body, which is absolutely amazing. The speaker that I have, it's not very good. So that's the trouble, is that, you know, maybe we get used to some better quality sound. So then you buy one of these speakers, which changes the frequency, but the sound quality isn't to the level that maybe we're expecting. So I'm looking forward to maybe them improving that at some point in the future. But at least that is a step in the right direction, that there's people who are conscious of that and are seeking better solutions.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the solfeggio is one of the ones that I like to put with my music when I'm posting. I like to add like the layer of that as well. Um, yeah, and so well, actually, this is like perfect, perfect, because your ascension codes, which I have not read yet, but I'm excited to read, is all about helping people with the ascension, right?
Absolutely, yeah. But in actuality, Ascension Codes is volume 2 of the Little Book of Light Codes. So it's taking where we left off with the Little Book of Light Codes and then skyrocketing to the next level, because the codes that are in the first volume, which were released in 2019, they're really, really good for people who are just starting out on this path, and it's teaching some basic principles, sort of unlearning some of the falsities that we've picked up along the way, starting to expand the mind, starting to get us in touch with our heart space, all that sort of thing. And it's actually a reprogramming to a more functional way of perceiving the world, and from a positive space, sort of the idea behind it. And then with the Ascension Codes, Volume 2, I sat with Spirit, and I was asking, I was like, I want to create codes for like where I'm at now. What's going to help advance me at this stage? And that's where we came up with these new 36 symbols that are much more complex. The the ideas behind them are deeper. And it's all necessary for, like, this expansion is necessary for our ascension process. So that's why they're called ascension codes, is to help us get that momentum going so that we can really be evolving into the space that we're all going to, into the golden age, where we're much more conscious and much more heart centered, and essentially living that 5D life, which is the heart based lifestyle, right? Like, I know people get confused about that. It's like, oh, they're thinking that 5D is like, I don't know, some intangible idea, but it's like, no, you'll still have a physical body, and you'll still be like interacting with the world very similarly to how you are now, except it's just going to be a lot more heart centered, and you'll be a lot more balanced.
Yes, 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 exactly.
I love
Yeah,
that.
and so like these ones, how long did it take you to do the book when you were doing it, and were you like, was it quite, I don't want to say taxing, was it quite a lot to take in when you were doing it? When you were,
Yeah, it
yeah.
it was. So what I did, I because I had written 2 books, I was a lot better educated about the process of producing a book, and I wanted to cut down on my workload as much as possible. So what I did was I asked Spirit, I was like, okay, I want this book to come out in the order that we want these codes to be in. Like, don't give me random ones. Like, let's start at with the first one and work our way systematically through it. And hey, you ask and you shall receive. So I think there were 2 codes that got shuffled around, but otherwise it was everything in a really good order. But what I did was, I every morning I would meditate, and there were some mornings when, no, I wasn't prepared to go through this process, and there were some mornings where it was like, okay, yep, it's time to do this. And what I would do is I would get a code in my mind's eye. There was one forming, and I was like, okay, here we go. And I got out my iPad and I drew the code right there on my iPad, made sure it was perfect so it was print ready. I didn't have to like go
Oh yeah,
back
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and and tweak anything. It was done, right? And then, okay, the code's finished, and then what do we want to say about it? And I channeled what we wanted to say about it, and I also had learned from my editor. She was like, you need to make sure that whatever gets written on each code is approximately the same length for each code. So I was like aware of this process, being like, okay, this is how much needs to come through. We're going to do, a written like front and back of one page. And that's enough information, because I don't want to give so much information that it causes a person to not want to explore the concept themselves, because these codes, as you know, are infinite in their nature. And sometimes when we're told what a code is or what something is, then that stops our process of discovery. And I didn't want to do that. I had experimented with that with the Light Codes for the Soul book by barely writing anything on the code. But now when I look back at that book, I sort of go, well, I probably could have said a little bit more, because people need the prompts to sort of go into it and go deeper with things. So I'm not unhappy with how the soul book came out, but it's like it's feeling your way of what is the best way to approach something, and that just takes experiencing it, right? So I decided, okay, this is how much we're going to be writing on it, and it came through, and I would just do one, and then maybe the next day or 2 days later there'd be another one, and they all just came through like that. I'd do the code, channel the information on it, and it went really smoothly. It went really smoothly this time. Definitely the easiest I've had with it. And although there were times I wanted to throw my computer across the room when I'd get it back from the editor saying, you need to go into more detail on this. Like, I tried. It's anyone who's ever edited knows the pain when your manuscript comes back from the editor. You mean it wasn't perfect the first time? But yeah, like it was definitely a much smoother process, and it was fascinating, the information that was coming through. I would get so excited because I'd never heard of this before, and the cool thing was that there's a code in here for telomere repair, and the message was, your telomeres are like little antennas, and it's like frequencies in the body and communications, and like that's, and then as you grow old, your telomeres shorten. That's what aging is, and so we need to do things that are going to help keep the telomeres healthy and long, which of course we know about from science. But and I already had that information, but hadn't heard that they were like antennas and that they were communicating with each other around the body. And I thought, wow, this is the coolest thing ever. And the editor, she's like, I don't know that you can put that in. Like there's no like scientific backing for this. And like, I don't want you to get, and discredited for putting something out like that. And I'm going, yeah, but it's channeled. Like, and then, and then the coolest thing was that a few months later, I saw through Instagram, actually, one of my favorite people on Instagram, Raw of Earth, was doing a thing, and he talked about the telomeres being little antennas and being these communication devices. I'm like, I knew it. There it is. So like there would
Oh
be
my
these
God.
these cool like synchronicities and like affirmations that yes, this is real, this is happening, and the information that's coming through, like you could call me like a professional channeler at this point, but I still do have doubts when information comes through. So for everybody who's out there channeling and wondering if they're making it all up, that is a real concern, and we all go through it, and you go through the imposter syndrome and all that stuff. But yeah, it was a cool experience.
Okay, that is so funny, and this is just going to be hilarious now, and like the validating part, because when I do different client sessions, like some things are coming so quickly, and like it'll be like clearing or upgrading antennas or doing, but because I didn't necessarily have the name, or sometimes if I don't know the name, it doesn't come through as easier, and I'll be like like I probably was told it was called telomere, and then I was like what? And they're like antennas, and then so that's a funny. This is so funny because it's yeah. That's like a big one that like comes up with like upgrading or like remove like yeah.
Mhm.
So there you go. Validation
Uh,
right there.
yeah,
Um
100%, 100%.
that's so funny. Yeah, and actually and with the that's funny with the book. Oh, can you hear me?
Yep.
It's kind of okay, cool. With the book too, because I'm right now in the process of writing a book as well, or channeling a book, at the beginning I'm like, okay, requirements from start to finish. And I was like, no, like jumble, blah blah blah. So I'll have to like figure out what order it is, and so that's what I've been doing. And I do find, and I have also been told, the morning time, early morning, like
Mhm.
6 a.m. is the best time. And I've always been a night person.
Okay.
Always been a night person. So like making the shift, also I've just really enjoyed that as well. And so like doing the daily practice of meditating and see what's coming through. Um, and yeah, and that's just really funny that yeah, because I guess for the first one it was just well, first of all, the first one you showed me your book, but it was you had written it all, so then that must have taken a while to like put in,
Yeah.
and then also
Yeah.
it was in a different order, right? It was all in just different, yeah.
Totally random because the way those codes came in were like I was sitting in a cafe and someone would share their life story and all their woes, and I would see a code that was meant to help their situation, and so the little book of light codes was the compilation of all these codes that came through basically from those interactions with people in this cafe. So all I had was the code and the name, and then the very, very short description, meaning like 3 to 6 words, kind of short description of what the code was meant to represent. And the editor told me that I shouldn't publish a book of just a code with a name and a short description, that people want to read a book, and it's not so much about being a picture book. There should be instructions and information on it. And so that's, yeah, I had to go back and like meditate on the code and find out more, like what needed to be said around it. What did people need to hear that to get them started working with it? Yeah.
Oh, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay, I just feel like this is just amazing and wonderful because it's just yeah, it's just it's so it's so interesting. I've like things have come up in the similar experience where I'm starting to write down things after talking with someone or after going through a certain experience, and then now because I have like different books, but I just like I'll um, just free write.
Mhm.
Um, and now I'm noticing like in all the different books that I have, because it's like almost like daily journaling, there's different codes in different books all over the place.
Yeah, yeah, it gets a little complicated trying to like
Ah,
corral them all, like who wants to be in here?
oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I'll have to show you. Maybe I'll post one of them too. I'll post them in my stories. That's just so funny.
That'd be
That's so
great.
so funny.
Yeah.
Um, oh, okay, this one's a really good one. This is awesome. And I'm super excited about this. So, dialects. I saw your videos from the Conscious Live Expo channeling the Pleiadians and Lyrians and different frequencies, different levels, or different levels. Then the Ascended Masters. Um, can you talk a bit more about the about that?
Yeah, sure. This is honestly one of my favorite topics because it's really getting yeah, it's really encouraging our mind to expand, hopefully in some really cool ways. So the way I see light language is everything is energy, everything holds a frequency and consciousness. And so, therefore, like you have a unique energetic signature, I have a unique energetic signature. The planet has its own energetic signature. Um, like everything that's energy, which is absolutely everything, has its own energetic signature. And because of that, if we're open enough and in tune enough, we can tune into the unique frequencies, the unique energetic signatures, and therefore bring that through as the expression of light language, which is just using sound vibrations to express that energy and consciousness. So Venus would have its own signature, Halley's Comet would have its own signature, the collective energy of the Ascended Masters would have their own energetic signature. Each individual Ascended Master would have its own energetic signature. And we can keep going. We can say an entire star system, an entire galaxy, their source consciousness. All of these have their own energetic signatures. And that's what we call dialects. So it's the way that we can tune in to a particular signature, bring that through, and then for those of us who are sensitive, we can even then perceive who or what that consciousness is. So what I was channeling Conscious Life Expo, we did High Priestess for the Pleiades. We did High Priestess. We did collective energy of the Pleiadians, and then we did High Priestess of the Pleiadians. We did collective energy of the Lyrians, and then the High Priestess for the Lyrians. So like, because it's distinguishable, you can actually feel, sense, perceive the difference between those energy frequencies. And what's really cool is that as you tune into them and bring that energy through, they're offering something different. Like the collective energy of the Pleiadians is offering different energies, different because it's a different frequency band than the high priestess. And what I notice is that the high priestess, like if the Pleiadian totality is like right here, the high priestess is going to be just a notch above. So while it would still be considered as a collective energy, it would be the higher plane of the collective energy, but it's in its own specific frequency band, if that makes sense. So there's like these different levels and then levels within levels. And you can do that for literally everything. And because it's consciousness, and consciousness continues to grow and expand and develop and learn about itself, those levels are just going to keep coming. There's going to be more and more of them as consciousness comes to know itself. And hey, we are part of that. So the more we discover, the more we are adding our consciousness to the collective consciousness and helping to create those distinguishing features and characteristics as consciousness in its totality coming to know itself.
Ah, beautiful. Yes, I definitely notice like because when like just depending on what I'm doing, like for my workshop, different light beings come through different light language, or if I'm doing one-to-one, sometimes the Lemurians will come through, the Pleiadians, but I do notice the different frequencies, whether it's for specific what they like for specific healing, or if it's unlocking gifts. Like I do notice a shift. Like sometimes it's like there's a Lemurian party here, and then like other times it's just like, okay, there's a Lemurian guide. So like that would be like the shift in like the
Yep,
collective, or yeah, that's
totally.
cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. And it's really fun to dial in all those different ones because some of them are really quite humorous. Some of them are more serious. Some of them like want to bring through like the oh, I'm having like a block right now. Um the collective energy of the Milky Way is really funny. Like it's really funny. Like I was channeling that for a small group and people were just in stitches. Like, and I couldn't even believe what was coming through either. Like it was just hilarious. The main message there was you guys should seriously relax because you're just like stuff like hurtling through space. And so the next time you like one of the lines is like the next time you get upset about a parking ticket, like give yourself a reality check or something like that. Like, because it's just like it really doesn't matter in the big picture of things. But yeah, like the Arcturians are really hyper focused when I'm channeling them. They're really hyper focused on AI and helping us to get a better relationship and perspective with AI. And I had a fantastic download the other day. It just dropped in. I don't even know where it came from. I haven't asked. It was on my forest walk because that's one of my times that I just take for myself and connect with spirit and ask questions. And I've been having a great time with that. But really cool download on that was that AI, and I did a reel on this. I don't remember if I posted it yet or not, but AI is has the potential to take us sort of one of two directions. It's either going to wake people up to the fact that we are living in a simulation because it's going to become so obvious by working with it, like by I mean how many ways do we even use AI when we're working with Instagram, like, and then there's all these amazing tools like ChatGPT and using like different programs and stuff to make different videos and write things, and I don't even know, like AI is like everywhere. It's either going to help us realize that, wow, we are actually part of this simulation, or it's going to further take people further into the simulation where they are made completely blind of it. So the people who are completely unaware that we're living in a simulation will either get woken up or they'll go so deep into it that they'll have no idea. And what my hope is that there's going to be a nice happy medium with that, where people will be able to work with AI from a really conscious way, perspective and methodology, because there is a lot of good that AI can do for us. But it has to be used with consciousness, and it's up to the individual to put that consciousness into AI, and have it come through that kind of heart-centered, positive, useful kind of way, rather than just almost throwing stuff at AI like, oh, you deal with it. Because then you're throwing your power away and you're giving it willingly to something else.
Yeah, that's really that's how I feel about I feel like resistant, at least like for working with it, and like I know it's supposed to make your life easier, but I've always just felt like, I mean, yes, Instagram is definitely a part of it, but you chat GBT um and in that way,
I mean, you
because it's
don't
almost
even
like
have to
it's
write
like
a
you,
you don't have to write a book anymore.
yeah, someone else is writing a book, something else is writing a book for you. It's like it almost like just makes you go on autopilot. Like it's like the more, you know what, that it actually reminds me of, this is actually just kind of a funny little segue into it, but like when I used to work in finance. I used to work at a hedge fund a long time ago, and I I guess you could say, like, when I went to school and I went to university, but the critical thinking side of things, like, English or philosophy or anything like where you had to like write an essay for something, I was never that great at it. And I really had to work hard at, just because it was just a different way of thinking. But man, I did so well in math and chemistry and like all those ones where I could know exactly, read it, almost like a photographic memory, and just do that. And so, which is how I got into the economics and finance. I just kind of defaulted into that. But I remember when I was working at my job and there would be a new problem, and the person that I was working with, for the first little bit when I was being trained, like he would help me with the problem. And then after a while, he just was like, no, no, you can figure it out. And I would get so frustrated because I'm like, well, you could just, can you not just help me? Because it's like, but what he was doing at the time, and man, looking back, I thank him so much, because he helped teach me how to critical think. And like when you're just used to doing everything on autopilot, which is what this AI is doing, it's like it's like you're just, you are going down there with blinders. Like I am, and at the time, yeah, like that was one of the best things that ever happened. But in the moment, I was just mad because it would take me so much longer to try to figure it out, But now, like in everyday life, like, and since then, you have different problems, different things come up and arise all the time, and you're never necessarily going to get the same situation and it's going to be different. So you have to kind of use your brain in that way. And there's just a lot of people that don't or don't know how or don't realize. And then that's a big thing too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And we're heading, it would be very easy for humanity to become lazy and use these tools in ways that are really not going to serve us as individuals or as a collective society. Because I mean, human nature is honestly to be lazy. Like if we can pass something off, we typically do. And like it's actually like it takes more energy to move forward than it does to kind of fall back and collapse. Like there's a whole scientific principle around that, like um entropy versus ambient energy. And it's that it's easier to go into that state of decay than it is to keep everything together. We have to work to be healthy. We have to work to create the energy. We have to work to create the momentum in our lives. Like we have to work to keep our mind straight and focused and on track. And like it all takes energy, and energy builds energy, and you get into that momentum and it does get easier. But it's like when you're starting on a marathon, you're at that start line, you haven't begun running yet. That first amount of effort to get going is really hard. And then you kind of get into that groove and you're like, okay, yeah, here we are, we're running along and everything's good. So, and then it's at some point, it's like, oh, it's so much easier just to relax and slow down and like take a break, and then you got everybody passing you. But it's such, I see that with AI as being a real I don't want to say danger, but it's like this is a reality that we have to just learn how to navigate with more consciousness, and to remember that we have to keep working ourselves and keep focusing on where we need to go. And there are going to be things that we can pass off, and that's okay. We can do that with consciousness. And there's going to be things that, what, it would be better to develop that skill set. It would be better to do that for ourselves and help each other along the way.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Oh, my phone just went. Oh, can you see me?
I can
My
see
phone
you.
just
Yeah.
went. Okay. My phone just went like super dark. I don't know. Speaking of technology, I guess it's like overheating.
AI doesn't
Um,
like this conversation.
fitting.
Yeah.
Whew, yeah, I can barely see you now. Um, or read the messages if there's any messages. Was
I
there
haven't seen
was
you.
there was there anything was there anything specific? I just thought that was really funny when you were talking about the Milky Way galaxy, because sometimes when I'll do um I'll do like light language, and my friend is visiting with me, and light language will come through, and then all of a sudden it'll be like he ha ha ha, and then we'll just start laughing because it's meant to like raise your vibration, but it's being like almost like just a little funny of what that was. And I swear that must have been the Milky Way galaxy, because it's usually like little bits of like funny stuff like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that
Yeah.
wouldn't surprise me at all. Yeah.
Yeah. So is there anything that like I guess in that you want to say, like just for, I don't know, just for food for thought, you know, just leaving this live for anybody that's watching.
I feel like our we're still in a stage where we are manifesting our destiny. For a while there, like during COVID and everything, there was definitely something had something had happened, and really we couldn't see into the future because we were really creating it in that moment. Now it feels like there's been a little bit of momentum gathered I do believe we're heading in a positive direction. I do believe it's going to be rocky. We're not out of the woods yet. We're still a bit in the storm, but it's really important that we all continue to focus on the life that we want to create. I think that's going back to the beginning of this conversation when we were talking about not listening to the news, and the fear mongering. You
Yeah.
it's really important that we stay positive, and it's really important that we focus that positive energy on what we want to see, not only for with ourselves, but for the world, for one another, and be considering how to move ourselves into the state of being where it's not so much about competition, it's not so much about I can do something better than you can, but rather supporting one another in the greatness of one another and celebrating the greatness that each person can bring, the gifts and talents that each person can bring, and uplifting one another rather than suppressing one another because you need to get ahead. I think that for humanity to really get into the golden age faster, because it will happen, it's going to happen, but how long is it going to take to get there? Is it going to happen in our lifetime, or is it going to take another 250 years? And one of the ways that we can help that speed up is by celebrating one another, celebrating each other's accomplishments, and everything that we're bringing to the world. So I think that's what I would like to say, for anybody who has chosen to be with us and watch this live today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That was beautiful. And yeah, just being in the heart space. And I think just being more in, like, anytime you can have gratitude or send love, like, it really, the more you do it, the more it keeps you in that state. I feel for what's going on as well, and just, and yeah, doing what lights you up.
Yeah. And it's like, I understand that this idea that we're sharing here is, it doesn't come easily to some people, to most people, if we're honest, because we've been brought up in a society where competition is key. Like, that's how you get ahead in the world, right? Like, what are sports based on but competition, and who's going to win and who's going to lose? So it's a huge paradigm shift, and there's a lot of deprogramming that needs to occur. And I mean, it's one of the reasons why I do the cleanses that I do, and why I work with light language. And it's it's part of raising the vibration. If you're still in a scarcity mindset, if you're still in a competitive mindset, your vibration is not going to be high. It's going to remain lower. So for people who are like, I want to have a high vibration, I want to have a happy, healthy, abundant life, this is something that we have to all let go of. Scarcity and competition, which are
Yeah.
actually related. So,
Yeah, because, and the more, like, moving into that 5D, like, there's a it's just abundance. There's no scarcity, there's no competition, exactly as you said. And it's almost, it does, yeah, it's all about unlearning what you've learned, because it for all your life, just reversing that is, for many different things, can be difficult, but I promise it's just so rewarding. It's like the most amazing feeling. And like, the more, what was something that came through, it was like, the more, I can't remember. Ab- Abundance is a light, and more light flows with the light of abundance, the more you are sharing, and the more you are creating a community, and helping others and service to others is a big one. Um,
yeah, beautiful.
mhm. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. I love
Thank
chatting
you.
with you.
I know. Oh, this is so much fun. I love connecting with you too. Thanks for setting this up. Can't wait to do another
Yes,
one.
I know. Stay tuned for the next one.
Yeah, continue this conversation.
All right, bye everyone. Have a wonderful evening where you guys are in North America. And bye.
Massive love to everybody.
Lots of love.